I wasn't even gonna stream today because I'm really not. I'm not feeling bad, but I'm not feeling good. When I woke up today, and I miss. I like watching Katie Fang. Yes, I find her really, really attractive, but I actually like her podcast. I like her news show on the weekend. She used to be on when I would be feeding the cats, and I don't know if she negotiated or if they finally got smart enough to realize somebody that attractive and talented is just wasted at like 4 or 5 in the morning when there's only a couple fucking losers feeding their cats. Oh. But anyways, I missed her today, and the and I think I fell asleep like 3 or 4 different times. After that, the the thing that gets me, like the first podcast I watched, uh, let me see if I can pull them up on my tablet quick. Wrong one. Give me a second. Okay, the first one is the Chris Cuomo project, and that one might not be as useful unless you had seen it before. It's 51 minutes long because he does more than he's got a few, but it I just saw it today. I don't know for sure when, but it's inside knowledge what the government really knows about UFOs, and he's got Ross Coulthard on there, and apparently, and this is like a cool thing for me too, and maybe I'll talk about it if it's something good and new. But he's going to have an upcoming, if it hasn't already happened, he was talking about an upcoming podcast about JFK, and I don't know if that's the one that I've seen or if he's doing one for News Nation. But him and his co-host on the Need to Know podcast, if you want to find it, look, Google and YouTube will usually find it with Need to Know, and then spell his name Coulth. It's either ART or ARDT, I think. And Zabel is the other guy. If you that's probably an easier one to spell. But if you do Need to Know and then Zabel, that should bring it up. But this one here, he was talking about the upcoming Schumer amendment, which has now been spiked. It's much less useful now than what it was be. And I did one yesterday, and if you're on YouTube, it should be out before this one. If you are on Twitch, it's basically one where I was basically putting bad news, CT action. Uh, I normally am not going to do this. I know my stuff is shit, but if you are watching this, please go and watch that one. Don't be afraid to clip the one little part in there where I'm basically telling you to get a hold of your president, get a hold of your elected members of Congress, and unless they're fucking shitheads, uh, get a hold of them and let them know that they got to talk to the president. And this is the only call to action I'm doing for this. I want to make it a short one. Not going to talk about getting legal assisted suicide legalized for this one, but the only call to action I'm asking for right now is get a hold of your elected officials, get a hold of the president, and let him know that he should write up an executive order stating that everything the government has on UFOs is now declassified and must be made public. And send it out to all the players in Congress, send it out to all the players in the military, send it out to all the players in the intelligence community and the military industrial complex, and let them know that if they do not pass Schumer's amendment as intended, and I don't care if it's part of the defense authorization bill, I don't care if it's a standalone bill, but let them know that the bill as he and Schumer intended needs to be passed, or he will sign that fucking executive order. If they don't want to play ball, if anybody in the military, anybody in intelligence is trying to fucking stand on shit, and then this is what we're going to do. We're going to basically fucking make everything open. And I think that's a bad idea, but I think this shit that we have where you've got these people that are unelected constantly keep doing this shit. They've been doing it for 70 fucking years. And if they're going to keep doing this, if they're going to have their bought and paid for congressmen, and this is what we're talking about, this is not a majority. My understanding is there's 2 fucking dickheads in the House that are fucking this up. There were 3 dickheads, including Mitch the bitch McConnell, in the Senate that were standing this up. And, hey, this shit's over. Tell them, you guys have had your time in the shade. Sunlight's coming in one way or the other. We can either do it in an organized and logical method like Chuck Schumer has intended and like I have now supported, or we're just going to make everything public. And then the minute you have to sign that, if they fuck around and you have to sign that executive order, the minute he does that, he needs to appoint a special prosecutor who will, like they said in Watergate, follow the fucking money. And they will follow that money, and they will start to go after people for illegal business dealings between the government and private companies. And here's what you're going to find out. I mean, aside from E.T., I have no idea what we're going to find out with E.T. or anything like that. But the fact is, we have, according to whistleblowers, we have money that has been misappropriated. This is a crime, and it's worse than Iran-Contra, because Iran-Contra, we fucking knew what they were doing. They bought weapons and they gave them to fucking, Iran or Iranian people, probably terror groups, And this shouldn't be that big of a fucking surprise when you look at the Reagan administration and his VP when he became president, the Bush administration. They basically trained Al-Qaeda. They trained bin Laden, and they called them the Mujahideen or something like that, but they became Al-Qaeda. They trained the people that flew the planes into the buildings on 9/11. So no, this is just not a fucking surprise. It really isn't. But let them know that this is what's going to happen. Put that special prosecutor in, and I am positive if that happens, or if we get that presidential panel, the same thing should happen. Just probably a little slower, a little more organized. But have that special prosecutor go after anybody that broke the law, whether they were hiding stuff from Congress, lying to Congress, hiding stuff from the courts, lying to the courts, hiding stuff from their superiors, like the Rick Wilson memo, where Rick Wilson contacted some special projects that were outside the government and said, hey, I'm the guy I'm the top guy in charge of special projects. You have to report to me. And they go, yeah, we know, but we're not doing it. And then they basically told him this happened once before, probably in the 50s. And we agreed to do it that once as long as we had to never do it again. They don't understand. That's illegal. The guy in charge, the guy responsible, should not have to beg for you to follow the fucking law. This is the shit when you saw Mike Flynn where, he went into court and he's like, well, nobody told me it was illegal to fucking lie to the FBI. These people, they need to be in court going, well, my God, nobody told us it was illegal to not follow the law. Well, hey, you shouldn't have to do that. You really shouldn't. And the other thing the special prosecutor should be looking for is any type of illegal, criminal, immoral acts between the government and around business. And we need to go full Enron on these fuckheads in the military industrial complex. We need to sit there and bring them to justice, bring the people running the company to justice, just like Enron, And we need to break up their companies and either give it to other defense contractors, like maybe make it, pseudo open, where anybody that can meet the standards and the security necessary can build them. So, like, the government will now own the strike fighter, and then whoever bids the best will get to make it. But take that shit away, put those. Because here's the thing, Ross Coulter didn't really seem to understand how eminent domain could work. Well, most of these companies did illegal shit like Enron, and they profited from it. They were given stuff illegally by the government. Nobody else had access. They were playing favorites. And they got it, and they made a shitload of money off of it. And that has funded everything. Even if these industries are going, oh, well, you can't just eminently domainly take this stuff because we paid to go get it and all that. Well, even if that were true, they can still take it. They just have to reimburse you. And I can tell you from my family's experience, they put a bypass in on a relative of mine's property, and he didn't understand. He thought he could just sit there until they gave him what he wanted. No, at a certain point, they gave him a check. That land was no longer him, and he could either deal with it or he could fuck off. They didn't care. And this is the same thing here. But I think that most of these companies, they made money illegally for decades now. Well, that they've got no rights to that shit. And there's a lot of it. You keep hearing these stories where you've got this hidden technology that some oil company or something is sitting on, something that would give us clean energy, or basically you'd get rid of the need for natural gas, you'd get rid of the need for oil. Well, any of that stuff that you seize from them people when you put them out of fucking business, any of this stuff that they've hidden away so that nobody could use it, or the carburetor that supposedly runs on like 1/8 the gas that a normal car does, which is probably why they switched to fuel injectors, because that sooner or later is going to get out how to do that, and people would just be doing it at home. But you hear about this shit, and any of this stuff that is not a weapon, any of this shit that is not inherently dangerous, needs to be made public domain, and everybody can use it, and for the betterment of America, maybe even the world. And that's what we need right now. And so that's what's going on. And then but so they well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but they talked about that. They talked about some of the stuff on Cuomo's podcast, and then I gotta fucking change the timer on this thing so it doesn't shut off quite so quick. And then the other one. Okay, the other one is the Weaponized Podcast. Yeah, it's the weapon. There was a third thing, and I can't remember. Like I said, it's just not a great day today. But the second one is Weaponized Episode 43, Saucers, Bodies, Debris, The Lost Tapes of UFO Whistleblower Colonel Corso. I'm in the middle of watching that. Like I said, I just want to do a quick one. I'm not feeling great. I don't even feel good enough to want to do a fishing stream today. I'd just be rambling all over the fucking place if I was doing that. This one here, I recommend you go watch it. And so far, the whole thing's good, and I think I'm not even halfway through it. It's like an hour and 1 minute long. The thing that I got in there is there's two guys apparently, and I keep getting the names mixed up. Well, I keep thinking the one guy is the other. And Colonel Corso is an Army colonel, retired. They went through his thing a little bit. He worked for MacArthur back in World War II. Apparently, he either worked for or was connected to the first CIA director. And the two things I want to talk about on this for sure are Oh, that was the third thing I want to talk about was that call to action. We're asking for you to just get in there and just basically let them know we need this to happen. Okay, there's our three things. Uh, but like they were talking about Colonel Corso, and I keep mixing up him with Doty, and Doty is an Air Force guy. I don't know if he was a captain, a major, or colonel. Uh, Corso wrote a book called The Day After Roswell, and I'll probably, because I know I've done this before, even when I was healthy. Uh, I keep thinking Doty's the one that wrote that book, and I don't understand because I've seen it where he's brought in like an expert, and I keep thinking of him as Corso, but his name's Doty. They don't even look that similar. It's a complete and again, this I've done this going back to before I knew I was before I was sick. I'm pretty sure it's just one of those things I did in my mind. But he was running a UFO disinformation campaign, and the lies he told, I will never trust that piece of shit. I just never will. Even if he's telling the truth, I will never trust that piece of shit. Well, anyways, they're talking about Colonel Corso, and there was something he talked about where he supposedly met, and I'm not trying to make him look like a liar. I honestly don't know. I really don't. I'm just trying to be honest about it. But he was talking about an alien he met somewhere. I missed that, and I watched it twice, and I know they were telling, and I just can't. I'm not having a good enough day where I can relate. So go and watch it. But he was talking about this alien he met, and it was something along the lines of it's an interesting new world if you can take it. And then George Knapp, who's very very talented and award-winning journalist, and then Jeremy Corbell, who and again, if you've never heard of Corbell and you take this kind of seriously, he is as serious as a heart attack. But the impression you will get from it, and I am not saying it's true, I am saying it's an impression you may get. He kind of registers as a pot smoking surfer dude. Not saying that's even true, but he is as serious as a heart attack. If you can get there was a guy I worked with, and he really wasn't a bad guy once you got to know him. And like if you didn't spend a lot of time with him, he would irritate me if I didn't see him very often, because he has a real abrasive nature. And but once you spend time around, he's not a bad guy, but he comes off as a prick. He just, and that's the way Jeremy Corbell is. He comes off, his personality comes off a certain way, but if you will sit and watch him, if you will sit and listen to him, he's as serious as a heart attack. He's got a fairly sharp mind for doing this, and I think you will generally benefit from watching his stories and his reporting on this. But he's not a journalist like Knapp is. He's I think the best way to honestly describe him, he's like an influencer that's a little serious about the UFO subject. And he's some of the stuff he's made, it's like, yeah, he really, and he's getting better. But some of the earlier stuff he did, it doesn't come off as professional. But again, if you can get past that, the message he's giving you is great. But they were talking about this guy, and it was just like, what the fuck? This guy is saying, well, yeah, the alien told me it's an interesting new world if you can take it. And I want to tell you another story, and then I'm going to jump back to this if I don't get distracted. I think it was back in the 90s. I used to watch a lot. I mean, I'm getting into it again now, but I still, on a good day, I can still remember the shit. And it's not like I was remembering it, but then when I saw this clip of Colonel Corso, I'm like, what the fuck? There were stories, and you may have heard them. And let me see if I can actually dig them up. I can give you a name, or I can tell you how to search for it. Give me a second here. Oh shit! I moved my. I'm, I'm, I apologize. I moved my camera and I'm doing this. I moved my camera and I'm doing this and I didn't realize that I don't think it was pointing at me. I don't know if you could see this. Uh. Okay. The thing I found, I'm going by the thumbnails, and I think what it is, somebody drew it and they made it look a little better. But you can look up some, and I'm not gonna watch it. I don't know how good it is, but I can tell you the shit in the thumbnail is not what I saw back in the, and I think it was back in the '90s. I might be wrong, but it's called, it's XTV News is the channel. Mona Lisa, the alien girl that Apollo 20 found on the moon, and here's another one you can maybe check out. Apollo 11's third astronaut reveals secrets from the dark side of the moon. 60 Minutes, Australia. Uh, yeah, I'm not finding anything on the first search page. I'm going to check this one out later, probably before I go back to watching that. Evacuation after terrifying discovery at the Skinwalker Ranch, and that's on Discover YouTube channel, DISCOVR. Ah, here we go. Uh, this one is, and the picture on the thumbnail is what I remember. It's called "This Is Why NASA Never Returned to the Moon." It's on YouTube channel Top Generality, GENERALITY, and it's an alien, and she looks like she's got three eyes. But I got to tell you, this thing came out in the '90s, and I try to keep an open eye on it. But when they showed it, it doesn't look real. If it looks like something that if they did it for like a TV show or movie, you're like, oh my god, we can do better. Even back in the '90s, like, yeah, this doesn't look good. But you got to understand, it's something that I think was exposed to the vacuum of space. Who knows how long it's been there? So yeah, it probably didn't look fresh. But they had this, and the theory is, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was either 17 or 18 or something like that. There was an Apollo mission that was officially the last Apollo mission, and the theory behind this is that there were secret. And again, I don't know if any of this is true, but this thing I saw today on the Weaponized Podcast gave me one of those what the fuck moments because, but they had this theory, this story, that there were these secret Apollo missions after the last official one, and this was a video that supposedly leaked. And I think I watched it. I might be wrong, but it seems to me I watched it on a show called Sightings back on NBC in the '90s, is what I'm thinking. And she's got like a third eye, or a bump or something. But she's got like two really big eyes, and she got like a what might be a third eye or something like that. And or something is on her forehead, and it got debunked pretty good. It didn't look real, and so on. And then you get there's this guy from Britain, UK hacker. He supposedly hacked into NASA or he hacked into the Pentagon, and they prosecuted him for it. His claim was, after he got out of jail, was that he hacked into secret files around space. And he found all these unedited video and pictures of things on the moon and Mars and whatnot. And then this, I believe, was on sightings too. And I don't know if it was the hacker or not, but somebody discovered the NASA non-terrestrial officers list. And then there was another one where somebody had found, and this made the shows. Some of these might have been on ones on the History Channel. Some of the ones I'm talking about now, I think were more on the History Channel, like later. But like that hacker, I think they talked about him back on sightings, although that might have been History Channel. But I'm pretty sure this one about the Mona Lisa alien on the moon, I think that one went back to sightings. Could be wrong, but that's my recollection of it. Could be wrong, though. Really not having a great day today. And but they found like spacesuits, and there were names attached to them, and they were supposedly the non-terrestrial spacesuits because they were not the ones the astronauts wore, but they looked to be fully functioning spacesuits. I think they were blue or something like that. So some of this stuff leaks out. Again, who knows? But when I was watching that thing on Weaponized, this guy was talking about that alien who was talking to him and saying, "Oh, it's a great new world if you can take it." And then he was looking through. He goes, "Yeah, I got a picture of it." And he held it up. It looks just like this picture that you're going to look if you go check this out. With the hair looks similar. It had the two eyes and then whatever that third thing is. And when you'll see it. When he pointed, he goes, "Yeah, that was red." He pointed to the thing on the forehead. And I'm like, what the fuck? I wrote it off as bullshit. I absolutely wrote it off, like, again, and I had sort of forgotten about it because one of those things where, yeah, this doesn't look real, and and then when I'm seeing this guy who doesn't seem like he's nuts, Knapp has done his due diligence, and I said, yeah, this guy appears to be the real deal, and he's got a picture of it. I'm like, yeah, and again, if you think about like Lou Elizondo, who basically say, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who were shunned and ridiculed that are going to be owed an apology. If the truth ever comes out, they're going to be owed an apology. And he goes, and there's a lot of people that were treated with respect, made money off of this work. They're going to have to basically go into hiding and never show their face in public again, on the media, on the social things. Because they were lying. They were lying to us all. And I'm just thinking, what the fuck? How much of this shit that looked like shit, many of us, myself included, thought it was shit, how much of that is going to turn out to be true when this is all over? And I'm not kidding you. This is why, seriously, reach out to the president. Reach out to at least the leadership in the Democrats. Reach out to your, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, your elected officials in Washington, and let them know that Biden needs to use what I'm going to call the nuclear option. If these fucking clowns that are bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex, if they are going to keep fucking around, if we are going to have, I don't care if it's 20 people, if we're going to have a handful of ignorant fucking shitbags in Congress that are going to be holding up what a majority of people are doing. I mean, anytime you've got Chuck Schumer, and I do not dislike this guy, everything I see him, he looks like a personable guy. I don't agree with him on his politics, but anytime you've got Chuck Schumer, AOC, and Tim Burchett all kind of on the same side, this is something we should all sit up and take notice on. We really should. And I don't know. You just write them and let them know that they got to talk to the president. And if they do not pass Chuck Schumer, if they don't at least go that far, if they don't pass Chuck Schumer's amendment as he intended it to come, maybe not everything I'd want, maybe not everything you'd want, maybe not even everything he wanted, but my understanding is the president started having his people work with Schumer to kind of perfect the language, and that language that he brought, because Tim Burchett's like, hey, look, I'm not saying it's the one I'd want, but I'm happy for it. I would love to see that get put in. We need that put in. We need to at least go that far, and if not, those people got to start telling the president to go nuclear, that this fucking shit that's been going on since at least Roswell. Because, like, the original Roswell thing, the Army came forward, yeah, we found an alien craft. And then after a couple dipshits from Washington landed, the story changed. They've been, as far as I'm concerned, they've been lying to us for decades. That's got to end. Having these billions of dollars come up missing, having this money that's been misappropriated. Oh, and the other thing you should be mentioning to the president or the people you want to talk to him, this thing where the government asks for money for special projects without telling Congress what it is, that needs to end. We need to get into a place where every penny's accounted for. If, and they did this when Bush was president. They put that defense secretary, I think his name was Gates, and under Cheney, under Rumsfeld, there were, I think, 6. If you, this is 100% accurate, what I'm about to tell you. Under Rumsfeld, under Cheney, they had 6 nuclear missiles that were reported as destroyed, and they ended up on a plane to be transported somewhere. Now, my opinion is they were going to turn those into suitcase or tactical nukes, portable nukes, and then they were going to have somebody, I think, blow them up in Iran. That's my opinion. Regardless of what they were going to do, those things were going to be off books because on paper they were going to have been destroyed. And just like we had somebody mailing ricin around after 9/11, and then when they investigated it, they found out, well, that's our ricin. And we never got to the bottom line. That's another thing we should get some answers on, or some people should be fucking fired. But they looked into that, and it turned out that the ricin was ours. It wasn't Russian. It wasn't Middle Eastern. It was our ricin. It came out of our labs. And then they investigated. Well, everything or almost everything pointed to one guy that was connected to the Republicans and government. He's a government worker, been one for like 20 years or whatever. Everything pointed to him, or just about everything. And as soon as everything started focusing on this guy in the United States, they couldn't blame this on, Johnny Jihad over in the Middle East. Well, then they just gave up looking for it. That tells you a lot. They discovered, now it might have been some rogue organization, but they discovered it was us. So they quit looking. Just like after 9/11, they started following the money, like, well, who paid for the training? Who paid for this? And everything for those hijackers that flew the planes, everything started pointing to, I think, an admiral in Pakistan. Somebody, again, good ally, good connected person to the Republican Party. Well, then they dropped the ball on that. They quit looking. And this is the same kind of thing here. We got this shit going on. Nobody wants to tell us what's going on. Well, we finally need to get some answers, like with this money that goes up missing. And that's something that Biden needs to fix, that from now on, they don't have to give details. They don't have to give operational knowledge. But from now on, when they've got black projects and shit like that, they need to let them know what it is. Oh, it's basically to train people to kill terrorists in Iran. They need to start doing this. Oh, well, this is for some technology that if it is eventually functioning and working, it will basically allow us to flip off enemy planes with a switch, whatever the fuck it is. And that's what they need to do. There can't be any more of this. Oh well, just give us the money and trust us. I after this shit, the shit that they did in the build up to the war in Iraq, all of that, I would say this military industrial contract has used up our trust. And we've got to start getting into the trust but verify stage at the very least. If not, well, we don't trust you. You're going to have to earn it back is where we're at. So please get that going. Go check out, if this is something go check out those podcasts. They were both fairly new. That one I think would have been a little better because he was still talking about how great the Schumer amendment is. And we just found out yesterday. So it could have been like early Friday or earlier in the week. But we just found out, I think, yesterday that there were there's at least two that they mentioned by name, Mike Turner and Mike something or other. They're the ones blocking it in the House, the Mike and Mike show. And I don't know what to tell you, but this shit has to stop. And we just found out, Marjorie Greene was bitching about it. She was basically going to hold up all this shit she wanted to go away. They were going to defund this, and they were going to defund that. And until they did, she wasn't going to go anywhere. They had passed a bill that they were going to then force into a conference between the Senate and the House. And I know damn well what she was likely going to do. She was going to sit there and just shit her pants and look at the senators and go, well, until we get 100% of what we want and 0% of what you want, we're not passing anything. So fuck you. We'll shut the government down. And that Mike, who's now the new Speaker of the House, he basically kicked her out of the discussion. So it was him, Schumer, and some group. They worked out the agreement. So she didn't get to basically shut down the FISA court. She didn't get to shut down this. She didn't get to shut down that. They didn't get to basically set up those things to drown Mexicans at the border again. And she was so pissed off. Well, I'm sorry. If they can cut Madam Dipshit out of the fucking thing, they can cut Mike and every other fucking, illiterate asshole in there that wants to fuck this up and fucking line their pockets with the fucking special defense contractor funds. They can cut them out of the loop too. They can just ignore them. They can just kick them out of the room. They can pass it, and with the help of Tim Burchett from Tennessee in the Republican Party, with the help of a few honest people in the Senate and the House on this subject, they can get that passed. They just need to basically want to do it. So. Go check out those podcasts. Please, seriously, write your elected officials. Tag them on Twitter. Yesterday in that podcast, I gave you the number to call the congressional switchboard so you can basically leave a voicemail for your congressman or a voicemail for the majority leader in the Senate or the minority leader in the House. Tell them to get on this. This here, think about it. Forget about E.T. Whatever your feelings on E.T., every American should care that, according to Burchett, every time they've audited the Pentagon, they're like $1 billion short. There are a fucking billion reasons why you should care about this. The E.T. thing is just icing on the cake, and the cake's the most important. We need to clean up our government. Think about it. We're talking about all the shit we could do if we raise taxes on the rich. Well, you know what? Maybe we can hold off on taxing people, and we can still get that shit if we get that billions of dollars that the military and intelligence keep stealing from us. And, we need to put people in jail. Anybody that broke the law needs to go to jail. These companies that were doing unfair trade they need to get disbanded. Their shit needs to be seized, and it needs to be given to good, lawful countries that aren't stealing from us. This shit's important. I can't stress this enough for you. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a great weekend.